Well, good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be back in game week, and I know the players are excited to be facing somebody other than each other for a practice, and so just continuing on with our preparation. We had a pretty good prep week last week working on Stanford, and had a little bit of a mock game on Saturday to just trying to get some of the bugs ironed out with some of the new players as well as staffing, and now we're kind of just full speed ahead with our normal practice week. Really good football team we're playing, seasoned group, very veteran group, a lot of older players that have played an awful lot of football, and I think we're going to see that across the landscape of college football. We have a lot of older kids as well, but that's just with the extra year and more transfers and grad transfers. I think you're going to just see that throughout the year, but really impressed with those guys on film, and we have to come up with some great plans, offensively, defensively, and teams, and more than that, we have to be able to execute against a really good football team.
With Stanford's offense, do you expect them to continue to kind of get away from the power run game that they once were about, or to kind of revert back to that style?
You watch them on film, they're going to do what they do, and I think that is run the football at you, whether or not it's out of multiple tight ends to a tight end fullback to extra lineman, whatever it may be. I think that's still an identity that they have, that if you can't stop them, you're going to see it. And so we have to do a great job of trying to find some different looks and different things to do to try to slow those guys down, because they're going to try to rush the football at you. And I know that they have really good skilled kids and quarterbacks that can spin it around as well, but if you can't stop the run, it's going to be a long day for you.
Felix Onadike officially came out on your depth chart you released yesterday as the starter. Was it just the ascent that he made in the off-season camp, and did it kind of jump out at you?
Not necessarily. Felix is going to play a lot for us. So there's going to be a ton of guys that are going to play a lot for us on the defensive line. So it's probably a body of work from the spring and summer with Felix, and excited about what he has done and what he has accomplished in such a short period of time with changing his body. That being said, we're going to play 8, 9, 10 guys on the defensive line, and we're hoping to split a lot of those snaps, and so nobody's playing 75, 80%, so we can keep them fresh.
When you look at the defense now and all the new faces you have, starters, reserves, wherever it may be, how much do you think that unit has improved since we saw them last against Texas a few months ago?
Hopefully quite a bit, with new faces, kind of a renewed focus, a really good off season. I know we're bigger, we're stronger, we're more athletic, we're deeper. Doesn't mean that we're automatically going to play better. It still has to come down to executing, and we talk all the time about the limiting explosive plays, and you do that by playing with great technique. You do that by tackling really well, and that's still an emphasis for us, is we have to tackle really well. But there's going to be a lot of new faces out there. We like what we see right now in fall camp with the improvements we've made on defense, but we're going to find that out in the first 3 weeks of the season in the non-conference, as we move guys around, because some guys are playing multiple positions, and so we need to continue to move guys around and find the best fit for everybody before we get into conference play. So these next 3 weeks are really critical for us.
Do you sense a different personality on that side of the ball than you saw last year?
I couldn't tell you that. We just need to be better. I don't know if that's a different personality, a different mindset, whatever. We just need to be better on defense.
And if you could, can you take me back to whenever it was first brought up to your attention that you could play this game in Arlington, you and Gene talking about it or whatever, and what made you say, man, I really want to do this?
A couple reasons. One, what a great experience for our players to be able to go down and play at AT&T where the Cowboys play. I thought that was going to be a great experience for our players, for our fan base, and the fact that this is a year where we get the 5 home games conference rather than the 4. So with the schedule we had, we were able to work this out so that we can still have the 7 home games for our great fans, but take one of these on the road where we have a great alumni base as well.
Is this something you'd like to do more of in the future if you can mix it in?
You bet. I think opportunities for kids to play in different environments, I think is pretty special. It's pretty unique, and whether that's in areas that we have big recruiting bases or areas where we have a big alumni base seems to make more sense.
Are you guys doing okay on the COVID front as of right now?
Yeah, knock on wood. I think we have another test. I think it's either today or tomorrow. We have, I think, just a couple of kids that are coming off of a close contact or a quarantine. So, every week there's going to be one test in the Big 12, and I can't remember if it's Tuesday or Wednesday. But knock on wood that we're doing a good job of keeping our social distance and not running into situations that you could potentially be positive.
I know it's been a while since everybody's played, but for Skylar even longer, being knocked down in week 3, do you anticipate there being some rust for him to knock off when he gets out there?
No, I don't. The way he's practiced, not at all. I know there's an excitement for him. I know that there's a comfort level, there's a confidence in watching him practice and watching him run the show on offense, and it's more an excitement for me and for him and the guys to get back and watch him play because he's playing at a high level.
Coach, I noticed Nick Leonard was top of that chart tight end, but those 3 guys all bring something a little bit different. What kind of flexibility do they offer you?
Well, we're deep at tight end, and Daniel and Nick and Sammy are going to play an awful lot. Plus, we have the fullback position with Jackson and Barta and Christian. So we're gonna utilize all those guys. And it's probably similar to the defensive line position. Maybe there's a skill set better here and there in blocking and receiving, but you have to be able to do both. And Nick came off of a surgery that he had in the off season, so missed some of spring ball, but like what he's done. He's a guy that's played an awful lot of football for us, has a lot of confidence. The guys have confidence in him, and I'm excited for Nick to have a big season.
And you're finally getting the depth where you needed to be or closer to where you needed to be. And now that you're into actual game week and preparation, you find that depth more accommodating to game planning?
Yeah, we do. That being said, we're still learning so much about some of the new guys that although we're deeper at certain spots, until they get the game experience, we may say, boy, that guy may be better as a free safety than as a strong safety, or a field corner than as a boundary corner, or a defensive tackle in a speed pass rush rather than a defensive end. Those are things that we're still learning about with a lot of the new guys we have in the program. But that's why we still, on a weekly basis, do some K-State versus K-State good on good so that we can continue to evaluate, because this is a long season, and if somebody's not maybe helping us this week or playing in a limited basis, it doesn't mean that's the end of the line for them. We're going to end up playing an awful lot of bodies this year.
And finally, Deuce Vaughn played as a true freshman last year. Now that he's had a full off season and a spring and all that stuff, how much different is he than a year ago?
Much more confident. He was a real confident freshman as it was, but just the amount of reps, the amount of pictures that he's seen, the amount of carries he's had, as well as receptions and stuff. He just, you can tell he's settled in, feels so comfortable within the offense, has learned a lot of the nuances of our offense, as well as the pictures that a defense is showing him. And so, we're thrilled that Deuce is an integral part of our offense, and obviously we need to find ways to get him the football.
And Chris, two of Stanford stalwarts up front are with Barry and Booker at the end. What have you seen on film that presents a challenge for you?
A couple things. One, they don't stay blocked. They do a great job of utilizing hands and shedding blocks and making plays, and I think they rush the passer extremely well. They've been able to rush 4 and get home. They bring a 5th guy, play some man coverage, but they do such a good job of collapsing the pocket on people and just don't give you time back there to throw the football. And so we have to be on point with getting the ball out on time, as well as some timing things to try to neutralize what I think is a really good pass rush.
And what's your comfort level of the offensive line and its versatility with the injuries you mentioned last week?
Yeah, we're still gonna, we talked about it on Monday with the offensive staff of being able to play at least 7, probably 8 guys, and there's a good chance we could get a 9th in there. Katori missed last week; he's back this week, so that really helps us because Katori's going to play an awful lot of football for us. Hadley Panzer, Dawson Del Forge have to be able to play in there and help us out. Carver Willis has to be able to play some and help us out. Logan Long's made really good strides as a tackle, moving him from tight end last year. So whether or not those guys are playing 15 plays, playing 25 plays, or in a game where they're maybe only playing a handful, based on the amount of snaps we get on offense, I think is going to be really important to keep everybody fresh, not only throughout a game, but throughout the 12-game season.
We've heard a lot this preseason about Malik Knowles, that the best thing he's done is just figured out a way to stay healthy. From your perspective, what's gone into that? Was that mental, physical, some kind of change in his regimen? What was the deal there?
You know, he made a conscious effort to take care of his body in the offseason. Was able to get a little bit heavier, a little bit stronger, playing with a lot of confidence. I so appreciate Malik because he's finally taken that ownership of a leadership role on our team. He and Phillip are, and you throw Seth and Landry in there, we have an older group of wide receivers, but I just like the way that Malik has brought in some of the young guys and helped those guys along. His leadership has really been on notice for me as a guy that people look up to, and you know, when he's healthy, he's played at a really high level for us, and right now he's playing really well, and I'm excited for him because he's got a bounce in his step. He's you know, going after the football aggressively. He's working with Skylar before practice, after practice, just working on that timing, and so we're all excited about watching Malik, and hopefully he has a healthy season.
And does Stanford remind you of anybody in the Big 12? Is there a comparison you can make there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't, not off the top of my head, just with what they do offensively and defensively. Yeah, they're just a really, really good football team that's extremely well coached. They know the system. They've been a part of the offense, been a part of the defense. They're older guys. They're mature guys. They're experienced. You're going to have to go out and beat them. They are not going to beat themselves, and that's the sign of a really well-coached team that I know Coach Shaw does a phenomenal job. He and his staff do that. They're going to make you beat them. They're not going to beat themselves, and so that's why I think this is going to be a 4-quarter game, and I'm looking forward to watching to see how we respond when we do have adversity and how we respond as the game goes on.
I was going to ask about just your situation at kicker. If it's first drive of the game, you guys stall inside the 20. Do you know who would roll out there to kick
Probably
it?
Tayton Winkle right now. Tayton's had a really good fall camp, kicking with a lot of confidence, coming off his foot really well. I'm excited for Tayton. You know, we have ongoing competition at the kicker, ongoing competition at the punter, ongoing competition with kickoffs, and I think that's healthy. I also know those guys all get along really well and are rooting for each other. I love that group because they're really close, and I think the competition is helping those guys. But right now, we would run out Tate.
Do you anticipate this being a game where you'd see a lot of Wayne Jones and Brian Hennington just based on the personnel you'll face?
That's to be determined based on what we see, you know, from Stanford offensively, and they're both going to be a big factor in the game plan.
Is there more unknown about a first game compared to any other game, or is that a false statement?
No, there's always that. You know, you hope you know how the guys that have played a lot of football for you are going to respond. And we have a number of those guys, but so does Stanford. I think it's the unknown about the guys that have been in your program or have just recently joined your program. Not that how well are they going to play, but how are they going to mesh with your returners? And is there great communication, great camaraderie, those type of things? That's the unknown, as well as the fact that you guys know this probably better than I do, but this is the first time in a while we've opened up against Power 5, and I think there's some added, you know, excitement for me on that, as far as, you know, whether it's Nicholls State to Arkansas State, the two teams that we'd opened up my first 2 years here, of, well, there's kind of a feeling out process. There isn't with this one. You know, it's going to be go to battle right away, and we can't sleepwalk through a first quarter or struggle coming out of the gates in the second half, because it's a very, very good opponent, and that's something that we're excited to see as coaches. How are these new guys going to react for us, and how well will they play when chips are down and it's a critical 3rd and 6 and some point of the game, offensively or defensively.
If there's, I want to say, if there's one stat or one area that you have to take that step forward in.
Yeah.
Where I'm pointing at is 3rd down. You could not get off the field on 3rd down last year. Is that as important defensively as anything this year?
Yes, it probably is. I look at it bigger picture, 2 things. One is explosive plays. We have to prevent them, and we have to be able to get some. You know, that whether or not those happen on 1st down or on 3rd down, we have to be able to limit explosive plays, whether it's a long pass or whether it's a short pass and it's a run, or it's a run. We have to eliminate the explosive plays on defense. We have to get a few more of those on offense. And then in the red zone, I thought we shot ourselves in the foot too much offensively in the red zone last year, and we have to be able to get touchdowns, as well as when you maybe do struggle on defense, maybe to get off the field on 3rd down or an explosive play happens, that we have to bow up in the red zone. We have to make people kick field goals. And so, you know, everybody talks about whether it's 3rd down success to 1st down success to the turnover margin to all those things, the penalties. It's still for us is preventing and eliminating explosive plays, creating explosive plays for us, and then having that success in the red zone.
Coach, how tough is it this day and age with the lack of contact in camp to get to be a team where you're good at forcing turnovers?
That and tackling. You know, we've tackled some in camp, but not as much as you'd probably like to, simply because of the injury factor. And we had a couple of concussions when we went live. And so we didn't go live as much, or we had a couple of injuries when we did go live. And so you had to be smart about doing more drills to create some of those scenarios. But, you know, that's not going to change right now. We have to adapt to the fall camps moving forward and the practice plans moving forward. And I think we've done a nice job of that. We kind of changed some of the tempos we did on offense and defense, where we were thudding in the hole and running through some of our leverage things on defense rather than stopping our feet. And those are things that early in the season you're always worried about, simply because you haven't practiced them enough.
Just one more real briefly. In terms of the Stanford quarterbacks, are they more similar, more different? How do you see Weston and Keith?
I think they're probably more similar, and I think they're going to do what they do. They have big physical targets, wide receiver and tight end, that they don't drop many passes. They win a lot of 50-50 situations, and they're just guys that go attack the football, and those guys put it in the right area. Those kids are going to come down with it. So that's something that obviously concerns us. And then, you know, they have a little bit of another quarterback system where they're going to come in and run the quarterback a little bit. So those are the things that, you know, expect the unexpected in an opening game, and how well a team handles the unexpected, you know, that adversity that you're facing, whether it's somebody takes it 70 yards in 6 plays and scores on you, or you go 3 and out the first 3 series of the game. How do you handle that adversity? How do you handle it when there's a formation or a blitz or something you hadn't seen before? And that's where, you know, it'll be interesting all season long, this experience factor that teams have. The teams that can overcome that adversity are going to be the ones that are probably the most successful.
Are you expecting Sebastian Taylor to be on any kind of a pitch count this week?
Yeah, probably. We envision him playing, but we have some depth at wide receiver, so I'm not worried about, oh shoot, we're in trouble. We've got to play him 45 snaps a game right now, because I don't think he's at that phase, but he is improving and he's going to play.
And Landry to be listed as a starter on there, is that a nod to how well he played in camp?
Oh wow, what a great camp he had. He caught everything and got open, had a great rapport with Skylar, knows the offense, can play so many different spots, goes and catches the football, is faster because of the procedures that he went under. He's so much faster. He's back to what I remember Landry in 2019, and I'm excited for him, because he would even tell you he was a shell of himself in 2020.
Do you think Jalen Pickle will ever have a chance to unseat Eli Huggins, or has Huggins kind of got that spot locked up?
I don't think if you'd ask Pick or Eli, they would really care about that, and the fact of they're both gonna play a bunch for us, and we've got D. Hentz in there, and we've got Timmy Horn in there. We have more depth inside at the D tackle position that we can rotate all four of those guys, one at 3 technique and one at nose. And so I like where we're at there as far as the depth, and they're all gonna play.
And specifically about D. Hentz, what has he done in the offseason to really impress you?
Changed his body really well, and became more explosive, became quicker. He's a stronger kid, understands what we're doing defensively. Probably was one of the most impressive guys we had through fall camp. You know, Timmy Horn was another one. Pick's getting so much better. Eli's a really good football player. We feel really good about the D tackle spot to be able to rotate those 4 in the 2 spots with Pick and D and Timmy and Eli. And so I think we're going to be fresh there, and we have a number of big bodies.
I think your philosophy's always been, limit the big play. Have you ever felt better, at least at K-State, about the defense you have to limit those kind of plays?
We'll find out. It still comes down to can you tackle in space? That one kid's got that one-on-one tackle, or the ball's caught on the perimeter. Can we tackle in space? Can we run through the perimeter, run through our leverage on the perimeter, and can we keep guys in front of us? And the proof's going to be in the pudding come these next 3 Saturdays, and we're going to make some mistakes this Saturday, just like a lot of teams are in their first game. For us, it's got to be that body of work. Are we better through the first 3 games of the non-conference season before we get into conference play collectively on defense? Because we're going to be still moving some guys around in these first 3 games, and so that's what we're looking for.
From a personnel perspective, what unique challenges does Stanford present?
Big and physical across the board. And it doesn't matter if it's the offensive line and tight ends, fullback, to wide receivers for that matter, to defensively. Really athletic, physical guys that don't stay blocked. And so from a personnel standpoint, it'll be a big challenge for us.
And then how do you prep for that?
Well, you've prepped for it the entire spring and the entire fall by going at it against each other, so that Eli Huggins is going against Noah Johnson, and Pickles going against Josh Revis. I mean, that's how iron sharpens iron, and you have to be able to go good on good, which we've done extensively through the spring, extensively through fall camp. And now just in the last week is the first week we've backed off of that. But even today, we're going to go 1s versus 1s for a portion of the practice, because we need to continue to sharpen each other for that big, the physicality of the game we're going to face on Saturday.
You've got 3 defensive starters of the transfers. How big was that for you? How important was it for them to contribute immediately, if not start?
Yeah, they needed to. It was something that when we looked at that in January, we really looked at 2 things. And the first and foremost was, do they fit our locker room? Are they going to make our locker room better? And every one of our transfers has made our locker room better. It's pretty obvious and evident when you have Timmy Horn that's elected as a captain and he's a transfer, how he has made an impact on that locker room. And then the second thing is, could they upgrade us and help us at the specific areas of where we're at on defense? One was defensive line. We lost a couple of really good older defensive linemen, and then the secondary, which we knew we needed to upgrade and get more bodies in there with the people that we lost. So excited about all those guys. And there's going to be some other ones that probably aren't listed as starters that are going to play as well.
And Russ Yeast, what is he giving you?
He's a great communicator. He's a physical free safety. He runs really well, and he's got a ton of game experience. That's one that we were talking about before. He's got a bunch of game experience at a previous institution. Now he's got to fit in with the guys that we have, and how well does he mesh with our linebackers, with the other safety, with the other corners. But I'm excited about Russ because he's just a football player. He's kind of a throwback. I really enjoy Russ.
Chris, last week you mentioned about Taylor Fortier's season-ending injury. Is there a guy or two that after Taylor went out who kind of stepped in and took advantage of those extra reps that he was getting now?
Probably Hadley Panzer would be the first one, and then Katori has swung back and forth to play both guards. Same thing we talked about last week, Carver Willis has to step up because we need Cooper to be able to play some guard as well. Dawson Del Forge, who missed spring ball, is starting to come back, and he's playing more and much better. So it's going to be a variety of those guys for the next 3 weeks as we kind of continue to work that rotation.
And then for you and your staff, for as many times as you guys ended seasons at North Dakota State on long winning streaks and national titles, how do you compare and contrast that with just how you guys finished last season in a manner, of course, that is not what you would want?
It's humbling, without question. And Coach Riley's an ornery guy to be around. But it is what it is. I mean, guys, I was blessed beyond belief to win as many games, as many championships, and I know that that's not always going to happen. In fact, it's only happened in a couple of places in the country. And there's a great challenge here. You better come prepared every week to play. Anybody can beat anybody, as everybody knows, on any given Saturday across our schedule. I think we have the capabilities of beating anybody, and I promise you anybody can beat us, because I've seen some practices where I think we couldn't beat anybody. I've seen some other practices where I'd say we can compete with anybody in the country, and that's the parity of college football. And I think you look at that last year with North Dakota State. They lost 3 games. You never should lose or could lose 3 games. That happens. There's a lot more parity across the landscape of college football.
Time for one more? Nope, all right, thanks.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
That's good.